The Diary of a Certified Psychopath. Off the crank. The forbidding gunmetal grey blanket of cold-forged cumulus, which I'd prayed would be lined with stellar gold, long before my senses were roused by reality's next targeted torrent of ambient alerts that more domestic micro-errands awaited my merciful attention, had instead merged with a dense shroud of maritime mist that provoked Shoreham Harbour's foghorn to wind a mournful monophonic warning to those stoic sailors still willing to brave a treacherous trawl through the viciously contested waters around Britain's crumbling coastline for a fresh catch sizable enough to sustain their modest livelihoods, and hoping that flocks of health-conscious herring gulls, keen to supplant their hereditary Southern American diet with a wholesome raw food alternative, had not already fished them to virtual extinction. Meanwhile, from somewhere deep within this mildly precipitous pea-souper, echoed the muted rumbles of sky-worthy ferries, winging their payloads of lapsed staycationers from bleak old Blighty to Costa Paradiso, and whose rogue silver wakes had morphed to shadowy snakes that slithered through a spectral tapestry of mackerel scales and herringbone veils, forming a technicolor negative cloudscape. From dim but far from distance, yet not quite total recall, I endured 2 moderate drubbings during direct and evasive westbound slogs along my hometown's omni-seasonal training mecca, employing both motorised and mortal traffic bridges to traverse the River Ada's silty banks, and in the latter instance gave broad birth to an excitable border terrier and busking saxophonist, counting his stash of hard-earned cash, and returning several stacks of unsold CDs to a shabby chic rucksack. I should note that these 2 sentient creatures were not affiliated, even though the ornamental use of pets to garner swifter attention from passing pedestrians, and win favour from any who might have a preference for songs of a different genre, is commonplace amongst countless communities of street musicians worldwide, whilst for collaborative acts, exceptionally vocal breeds, such as the Hamilton Hound or Siberian Husky, are more than partial to a spot of canine karaoke. Savoured a wind-aided green sweep along the scarified surface of Sussex's lengthy coastal interstate, which was almost foiled by an ailing Honda Civic that slowed to parade speed whilst passing Kingston Lane's Southern Junction, flashed its hazard lights, and finally ground to rest behind a Fiat 500 that appeared to have stalled out of sympathy for its hybrid pursuer. Between their 8 wheels and a combined mass equalling that of half a basking shark, this dynamic duo were churning out a rough total of 250 broken horsepower, with the Fiats being wholly electrified. For further trivial context, this converts to a wattage that is over 116,000% higher than Strava estimated I averaged throughout 40 comfortably paced kilometres, which according to current UK petrol and electricity prices would have respectively set each driver back £2.60 and £1.50 in combustible energy, assuming both their vehicles had been travelling the same distance, in neutral conditions. Surprisingly frugal tariffs, especially when disregarding road tax and maintenance fees, though I suspected the Civic's flustered pilot was inwardly fuming for forgetting to avail the facilities provided by my hometown's newly opened carbonation station, and ensure his luxury saloon's super-efficient 2-litre engine had enough gas to guzzle before their planned 3-hour meander around Brighton's labyrinthine lanes to secure an unmetered parking space. Ironically, the only other noteworthy lowlight of this spectacularly uneventful provision-based potter was a privately chartered London route master that I observed being surreptitiously tailgated by 2 seasoned weekend warriors perched upon road-reared thoroughbreds. From fleeting glances I guessed that the exotic tube sets belonged to Cannondale and Specialised, circa 2020, sporting a balanced geometry but with proprietary stems, slammed low enough for their tapered handlebars' compact drops to scrape the kneecaps. Both machines were also armed with plush aftermarket wheel sets that emitted delirious howls from their broad carbon rims.